All right, yesterday we covered the items. Today we're going to be covering the new and changing runes for Wild Rift. One thing to note before we get into this, we are not seeing no more Kraken Slayer. Kraken Slayer is gone from the game. It's the only removed rune from this, and it's going to be gone completely. Kraken Slayer is gone completely. However, we do get PTA. We do get a better rune, in my opinion, to Kraken Slayer, which, by the way, is a little bit different to how it works on PC League. We can now deal true damage and everything else. You can also see there's a new Resolve rune, and also there's a new Domination rune. I need to forget the word. We also got changes to Empowered Attack, which I'll talk about as well. So yeah, a lot of interesting things happening with these runes. But let's talk about all the runes individually. Now, this does say Empowered Attack. I am on the PBE. This probably will be changed to Press the Attack. It's just a beta. It's fine. Don't worry. Don't lose your shit. But basically, Press the Attack is the new Kraken Slayer, but just a lot better. So, Press the Attack. Hitting an enemy champion with 3 consecutive attacks deals bonus adaptive damage and makes them vulnerable, increasing all damage they take by 8% for 6 seconds. So, the big difference is that Kraken Slayer was you hit a champion with 3 consecutive attacks, you deal the true damage, and then it resets again. Then it resets, and you can then proc Kraken Slayer again. Now you just need to proc Press the Attack, 3 times, and then you can deal 8% increased damage with your abilities, with your auto attacks, with everything else in between for 6 seconds. But there's also something on top of that as well. So once the champion is vulnerable, so once you've dealt 3 auto attacks to that champion, your attacks to that target also deal bonus true damage. So every single auto attack that you're going to be dealing after you proc Press the Attack from 3 auto attacks, you can then deal 6 to 20 bonus true damage every single auto attack. So in my opinion, this is a lot better than Kraken Slayer. It has a lot more opportunity than Kraken Slayer as well, because again, what you can do is you can play someone like Lucian, for example, which, by the way, this is really, really good on Lucian and probably will be the next go-to on Lucian. You can dash forward with Lucian, proc your passive auto attack, so auto attack 2 times, auto attack again to proc Press the Attack. And then what happens is all your abilities, so like your culling, your ultimate, your first ability, your other auto attacks, everything else is going to have 8% increased damage for 6 seconds, which is quite a long time. And also that true damage on top of that is going to be added. But yes, this bonus damage that you are getting is adaptive damage. So it does mean that if you're proccing Press the Attack, and if you're getting the bonus damage, the 8% damage, and if you're doing that 2 tanks, then you're not going to be doing as much damage, because adaptive damage means attack damage or ability power. So in our case, if we're playing Lucian, we're going to be going from, going for attack damage. So if the enemy champion has a lot of armor, we're not going to be dealing as much adaptive damage. But the true damage is still the same. This true damage is still going to be 6 to 20. Again, this is not a big amount. 6 to 20 is not a big amount, but you just have to think of it as every single auto attack after you proc PTA is every single auto attack afterwards, you're going to be dealing 20 true damage every single time. Well, that's late game. Like, say like 10 true damage every single time, which is pretty good, in my opinion. Also, big thing is that Press the Attack does have a cooldown. So when you make a champion vulnerable, the target goes into a vulnerability cooldown for 6 seconds. So this rune basically has a 6-second cooldown as well. So you can't proc this rune multiple times on the same champion. However, that 6 seconds that you have where the champion is on cooldown, that's the same amount of time that you can deal bonus damage to that champion. So you're actually getting no downtime at all with Press the Attack. So you'll Press the Attack, you then dash forward, you deal the extra bonus damage for 6 seconds, which, yes, it means that they're going to be on that vulnerability cooldown. But then, actually, no, that might be wrong, actually. Because when the okay, actually, that's wrong. Yeah, I was just thinking, I think that's actually when the vulnerability cooldown happens after the vulnerability ends. So I think that's actually going to be, we might have to test in game with this. I think the 6-second cooldown happens after the 6 seconds is done. I think. By reading this again, I might have read this wrong. When vulnerability ends, the target goes into vulnerability cooldown. Okay, so you are going to have a 6-second downtime. You are going to have the 6-second downtime. So You press the attack. You have 8% damage, sorry, for 6 seconds. But then you're gonna, that's that one champion. By the way, it's only that one champion. Then goes on that vulnerability cooldown. So you can still proc this on multiple champions. This only means that you're going to be on a vulnerability cooldown on that one champion. So you can dash forward and you can press the attack on someone like a Jinx, for example. And then that champion's going to be on a 6-second cooldown. Then you can then proc this on someone like an Alistar or someone like that, or the support. And you can still press the attack. So PTA is only like one champion, basically. So yeah, pretty good rune. I think this is going to work a lot better than Kraken Slayer, because Kraken Slayer was just a very low amount of true damage, whereas this, you're dealing 8% damage for 6 seconds after you press the attack, or basically after you proc Kraken Slayer. So it means your abilities are going to deal more damage, your attacks are going to deal more damage, and everything else in between. Then you obviously have that cooldown, but then I guess that's completely fine. Yeah, in my opinion, press attack is going to be really, really good. Again, it's going to be pretty strong on like Pantheon, Lucian, any champions that basically have like any sort of auto attack reset, or anyone that can do 3 consecutive attacks in a short amount of time. Basically, Renekton. You can probably even use this on Viego, even though I don't think it'll be that good on Viego. But yeah, that's basically what it is. No, it doesn't. So it doesn't need to be 3 attacks at once. It just needs to be 3 attacks within a short amount of time. It doesn't actually say how long a amount of time it probably is. You know what? You know what's easier thing to do is to go into practice and have a look for ourselves. Let's go on Lucian and let's use press the attack, because it's best to just clarify and make sure that we know what the fuck we're talking about. Basically, it's good to just clarify. Lucian's probably the best champion to use this on. We're going to practice and then we'll see as it starts to pour down with rain. Lovely British weather. Right. With Kraken, it took longer to delete a champion. With PTA, put Kraken as an item, and that's it. Yeah, I think in the long run, they're going to make Kraken Slayer an item. I completely agree. I think what they're doing now is they're removing Kraken Slayer as a rune, and they're going to move it into an item later on down the line. That's my opinion, what they're going to do. Right. Let's go. So let's test press the attack. Let's see what's going to happen. So, enemy dummy, press the attack. So, it says consecutive attacks. So I wonder how long of a delay you actually have before you have to use your second auto attack. That's one auto attack. How long do you... That's a long time. But then does it go on cooldown? Oh, it doesn't go on cooldown. Okay, interesting. So you have quite a long amount of time. So you have about 5 seconds before you have to deal damage with the next auto attack. So what you do is you auto attack 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and now they're vulnerable. So now this dummy is vulnerable. So all my abilities and all my auto attacks are going to be dealing extra true damage, which as you can see is like 20 true damage. And then that champion is now going to go on cooldown. Now there's no indication to show that the champion is on cooldown. Wait, that was not a long cooldown. Wait a second. When does the cooldown start? The cooldown starts when the vulnerability ends. Ability on cooldown. That is not 6 seconds. That does not feel like 6 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Okay, it is 6 seconds. It is 6 seconds. Okay, so I wonder if we press the attack on one, and if it goes on cooldown, can we proc it on another champion? So you can still do this, right? Oh no, you can't. Oh, you can't. If it goes on cooldown, I can't use this as well. Ah, okay, interesting. So when press the attack is on cooldown, you cannot proc it again. Also, if you make a champion vulnerable, you then can't make another champion vulnerable. It's only that one champion that's vulnerable. Okay, so it's very much focused now on single target damage and making sure you engage when the enemy is vulnerable. So you don't have that window of proccing Kraken Slayer multiple times. But you do have a lot more single target damage when you proc press the attack. So actually, okay. This rune now is going to be a lot more based on timing than anything else. Whereas Kraken Slayer, you could just run into the enemy team. You could just like dead running into the enemy team and just, excuse me, and just keep rocking Kraken Slayer over and over again. And it doesn't actually matter. There's no cooldown. There's no nothing. Whereas this rune is a lot based on now proccing press the attack, but making sure that you play aggressive after proccing press the attack. So now that I've actually seen a rune in action, I'm not too sure if it's actually going to be better. I think it's a lot better for single target damage. So say, for example, I want to attack this champion and it's single target damage. It's pretty good. I mean, with Lucian, you could press the attack straight away, right? You auto attack, you do this, and you just use all your abilities. Like, you can still press the attack multiple times, but you only proc it on that one champion. Interesting. Okay. Testing it, maybe PTA is not that good. Maybe. Victory. Maybe PTA is not that good. What do we think, chat? What do we think? What do we think about press the attack, chat? So you get a lot less burst damage, it seems like, but you get more damage on that same target. Because Kraken Slayer was a lot more based on damage that you proc straight away, like the extra burst damage straight away. It's true, it took you 10 minutes to realize PTA wasn't good. I need to test this shit. Like, hello? I need to test this stuff. I still think the rune's good. I still think the rune's okay, but yeah, anyway. Let's press the attack. Arcane Comet. Some of you will know this from PC League. Arcane Comet. Have a read, chat, while I drink. So as far as I'm aware, Arcane Comet is going to be kind of similar to what it is on PC League. But you now get it. Okay, so by reading Arcane Comet first time, it looks like you deal more damage the more enemies you hit. It looks like it. Because if you read it, it says damaging a champion with an ability holds a comet at location, which is the exact same as PC League. When a comet hits an enemy champion, the next comet's damage increases. So if you hit... What? Again, this description is confusing. I have to go into game to actually understand this. Because it seems like if you hit one champion with one comet, the next champion that you hit... Or sorry, if you hit two champions with one comet the first time, then the next comet is going to be... more damage? It looks like it stacks. It looks like there's some sort of stacking mechanic with Arcane Comet. I don't know how much this stacks. Is it like, does it stack indefinitely throughout the whole game? Again, we'll have to test this in game. Yeah, Arcane Comet, really good poke rune. Really good on champions like Lux. It could be really good. Seraphine uses this a little bit as well. Basically any sort of poke champions. 1 damage for every comet you've hit, so it does 100 more damage if you hit it 100 times. Okay, I see. So 1 times total amount, so it times it by... Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, so if you hit 10 champions with Arcane Comet, you get 10 more damage. If you hit 20 champions with Arcane Comet, you do 20 more damage. And I guess it stacks throughout the whole game. Which I guess is not that bad. It's now a stacking rune, which is quite interesting. So actually it scales a bit better into late game. And also that stacking mechanic. So because of the way bidmass works, hey, I'm using school terms. The brackets come first. So you do the 30 to 100 damage. Then you brackets this. So you do the 1 times however many times you hit. Say it's 10. Then you do 100 plus 10, which is 110. And then you plus the 20% ability power. So this stacking mechanic that you're getting, that 1 times total hits, total hits on enemy champions, that's also stacking with the ability power as well. So that 20% ability power is getting increased by like 100 plus 10, and then plus you got 20% ability, like AP. So it'll be like that, like I just put into chat. So it'll be 100 base plus however many times you've hit Arcane Comet. Say we've hit it 10 times. So you do 100 plus 10, which is 110, and then you plus the 20 ability power on top. So I think this can scale to be a pretty scary rune, to be honest with you. Again, Let's go in game. Let's test it and see what it's like. Again, I think probably one of the best champions is going to be probably someone like Lux probably, or Brand. I can just test it on Lux. Lux is a lot easier to test. Lux is a lot easier to test. Arcane Comet. We'll go in game. Keep in mind this can be dodged. Yes, that's also very true. Yes. I mean, the early damage is pretty nice. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. Summon Airy is supposed to be a rune. Oh, not Summon Airy, sorry. Arcane Comet is supposed to be a rune where you can poke champions and deal more damage during the laning phase. Whereas like First Strike is a lot more of a scaling rune, because I mean, the thing is with First Strike is that you get no benefit from hitting a champion with the first ability. If you hit a champion with Lux, with if you hit like Lux's E with First Strike, if you can't deal damage or auto attack or anything like that afterwards, then it's basically useless. You're not doing anything with First Strike. But with Arcane Comet, it kind of comes in handy. Also, you have the little thing around you with Arcane Comet. It's exactly the same as PC League. Let's give this a try. Yeah, nice try, Baker. Thanks, mate. Okay, let's see how this works. Oh, I forgot to disable this. So say, for example, we was to hit 2 enemies with Arcane Comet. I wonder if we... How do we know how many stacks we have? Arcane Comet's pretty big. That's a pretty big radius. We don't know how many stacks we have. I wonder if we can check in this. Stacks 1. Wait, we only get 1 stack? Even if we hit 2 enemy champions. You also have a hit rate, by the way. 100% hit rate. You can have a hit rate at the end. Okay, it's not as good as what I thought. So I thought the way this worked was that it would be 1 times the total hits on enemy champions. So if you hit 2 enemies or 3 enemies with 1 Arcane Comet, you'd get 2 or 3 stacks. But you just get 1 stack per cast. So what if you... How the fuck am I going to test missing this ability? I don't know how I'm going to test missing this ability. What if I... Fuck, I don't know how I'm going to test this. Oh, interesting. It actually goes right into the center. Wow, even if you put Lux E like here, a Comet goes right into the center. How the fuck do I test not dodging? Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can. I don't think you can test it. So, okay, so it doesn't scale as well as what I thought, because you could only stack 1 per time. I still think it's pretty good. I mean, if you like do this with Scorch as well, like you're doing a shit ton of damage. Like, say you're level 1, right? 28 damage with Scorch, plus 30 damage from Arcane Comet, which is going to get increased as well. Like, Arcane Comet also gets increased depending on what you get. Plus, if you get like cheap shot on someone, I could see Arcane Comet being pretty good.
Everywhere I go, the light follows.
Use it on an ADC. I mean, even an ADC won't be like really good. I mean, that's what I think that's what they tried to do with is like, I mean, everyone knows Arcane Comet is good early game for the for what you can do. Let me enable the bot. Let me see what happens. How many stacks am I on? Oh, I'm on 3 stacks. Let me see if Garen dodges this. I mean, that's a big radius to try and dodge. I'm just saying, that's a huge radius to try and dodge. I think that's really difficult to dodge, by the way. I mean, Garen's not doing a very good job at dodging. But the radius is actually pretty big. Oh, you can see how many stacks you have at the bottom. Ah, so when Arcane Comet is not on cooldown, you can see the stacks at the bottom there. Which is kind of cool, I guess. You can guarantee the hit every time, pretty much, with Lux. It's dodgeable without a dash if the ability slows. Oh, it's undodgeable. Oh, yeah, it's undodgeable. I mean, if it's a root or slow, then it's undodgeable. If it's not, then... Like, Lux E slows, right? So you're never going to be able to dodge from this. Like, ever. And obviously, if you land your Q as well... Yeah, I mean, you're never going to be able to dodge it. The question is the extra... And also you have to remember as well that, I mean, this is a 16-second cooldown in the early game, but it scales to 8 seconds. 16 seconds is quite a big time in the early game. It's like double Scorch, basically. You're basically proccing Scorch twice by the time you're proccing Arcane Comet. I mean, you can stack it. You can stack it pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I think some champions might do this. And E-Lux flow from Lux makes it kind of hard. Yeah, the radius is pretty big as well. Keep in mind, a Garen can use Q to dodge. Yeah, I mean, if you root or anything, then yeah. That's basically it. But yeah, decent rune. I think it's okay. I mean, it will have to do with a lot of testing, obviously, to see what it actually is like. I think the rune's okay. I think it's not that bad. Is there a range limit if you hit your ulti from base? No, it's global. Yeah, it's global. It's completely global. There's no range. I can just show you quickly if you want. But it's completely global. So you can like get stacks on base if you want to. I mean, you can get stacks from anywhere, right? I'll quickly show you. Time to play Comet Scion. So one thing in PC League, which is very popular actually, when Camille is in a range matchup, Camille takes Arcane Comet top lane because of her second ability that can poke to deal a little bit of extra damage. I'm not too sure if that's going to be a thing in Wild Rifts. Personally, I don't think so, because I think it's like, I mean, laning phase doesn't really mean too much, and you're only taking Arcane Comet because of the laning phase. So yeah, that's basically it. Why is this taking me so long to load in? Okay. So let me just use, I can just quickly show you. I mean, it will take me 2 seconds to quickly show you. You can basically use Arcane Comet from base or anywhere on the map, and you can hit it, and then it will still proc it. So if let me get rid of Fog of War. If I hit Garen all the way at base, which is very hard for me to get the camera up there. If I hit Garen, there you go, look, see? Boom. And it still happens within the same amount of time. So it doesn't matter how far away it is, but yeah, it still procs in the same time. That's it. Oh yeah, Aatrox as well. Aatrox with range, yeah. No, I mean, yes, Camille is a bad example because no one plays Camille top, but it's a scenario which can happen. But yeah, Aatrox, Camille, I like I said, I don't know if it's going to be as good though in Wild Rift. Okay, anyway, that's Arcane Comet. Yeah, it hits fast. Yeah, it hits fast as well. It's the same amount of time, Chief. It doesn't matter the distance. It's the same amount of time, basically. Okay, now moving on to minor runes. So we have a new minor rune, which is... I'm not too sure about this one. So it's kind of similar to Scorch in a way. But it depends on whether you... Well, actually, it doesn't matter. It doesn't depend. But you can do this with an attack or an ability. So it says... The next attack within 4 seconds of damaging enemy champion with ability, or vice versa. You know, if you attack a champion and then the next time it's your ability, within that 4-second period of damaging a champion, you create an explosion that will deal adaptive damage 22 to 50 plus 15 bonus attack damage plus 7.5 ability power. In a small area, ranged champions also deal 7% of the damage. So if you compare this to something like, I don't know, Scorch, it has 1 less second cooldown. You get more damage overall from this over Scorch, but it has to be an ability and then a damage. Ability and then an auto attack, basically. So, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example of a champion that can probably use this rune. Who uses an ability then auto attack? Zoe. I would say Zoe is a good example. Zoe is a good example that can land her bubble or like Q and use her first ability, and then she always has enough time to auto attack afterwards. Yone Yasuo could use this because you have really fast attack speeds. That'd be pretty good. That's also another option. I mean, any sort of casting AD champions this could be really good for, or any champions that have like long range which you can like really quickly go up and auto attack as well. Does Eve E count as ability or an auto attack? I think it counts as an ability, if I'm not mistaken. I think it counts as an ability. Holy shit, where am I going? I'm dizzy. Champions. I'm pretty sure it counts as an ability. That's Echo. Echo would be a good example as well. Echo it can also work very well on. Pretty sure it counts as an ability. I actually don't know because it says applying on hit effects. But I still think it's an ability. Yeah, I still think it's an ability. Whereas Echo's E... Yeah, Echo's E is an auto attack. So Echo is a really good example actually of how this rune can be really, really good with Echo. Because with Echo, you can use your second ability and then dash into your second ability, get the big shield, proc phase dive, which counts as an auto attack, and then your next Q is going to do a lot more damage. Echo is a great example of how this new rune could be really good. I think it can be really, really good. Every ability counts as ability. No, I mean, Echo's E doesn't count as an ability where... because you dash and then it's the next auto attack. And also some champions abilities are not abilities and it's not not abilities, it's an auto attack. So Echo's a prime example. Echo's a prime example how this rune can be quite strong. But yeah, I mean, just think of champions that uses their abilities a lot and then auto attacks a lot at the same time. That's what it is. Auto attack, abilities a lot at the same time. Kayle is also another good example. I mean, Kayle is also another great example, but I mean, Kayle takes like infinite years to scale anyway. Varus could be interesting. I mean, Varus could be pretty good because you can auto attack and then use your third ability. Now, the problem is that the problem is you either have to take Domination Tree as a main rune, which is pretty bad in the first place. This is the problem with this rune. It's in Domination Tree, which Domination Tree is not that great in the first place. Like, in terms of rest of runes for Domination Tree, they're not that great. Which, by the way, Empowered Attack has changed, but I'll talk about that in a second. Because maybe Empowered Attack might be quite good with ADCs. But yeah, Domination Tree in general is just not that great. And is it worth taking as a secondary rune? Would you rather take something else as a secondary rune instead? I'm not too sure. I mean, it's hard to test because I can't test this on other champions or anything. But yeah, Ashe is another good example. Yeah, Ashe, you can use your second ability and then auto attack afterwards because it's slow to deal bonus damage. You can think of champions. I think you know that you can think of champions. Ezreal's an interesting one. I'm not too sure if Ezreal's Q counts as an ability or an auto attack. I mean, we can pretty quickly test the champion again. I mean, might as well test it whilst we're here, right? If we go hard, we go home. Ezreal's probably a good example where his first ability... I'm not too sure if it counts as an auto attack on ability. Yeah, I mean, ranged champions only get 70% damage. Yeah. Thank you, Baker, for the sub. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, on ranged champions, you don't get as much damage. With melee champions, you get a lot more damage. But let's quickly... also, I'm curious if PTA works with Ezreal Q as well. I'm also very curious if PTA works with Ezreal Rune. I do not want to take Empowered Attack. I'll take Cheap Shot and I'll take Eyeball Collector because I don't want anything else that benefits my damage. Let's quickly go and test this.
Wait, where are we going?
PTA and Domination Rune? Maybe. Maybe. I'm getting so many notifications on my phone. Like, what the hell is going on? I swear I've got about 20 notifications on my phone. I was hoping that the runes video would be a lot less than the than the items video, but it feels like this is taking longer because this is a bit difficult. We're on the runes at the moment, Spectre. We're covering the runes at the moment. I just want to test to see how Ezreal works with this new rune. And also we get to see if it's like an AoE thing or if it's just like it might be like a little brand explosion. You know when you use Brand's third ability, it might be kind of similar to that with the damage. All right, let's have a look. Also, Ezreal Yone is another good example as well. But the thing is, right, is like, not Ezreal Yone, Yone Yasuo is another good example. But the problem is like, does Yone Yasuo want to go for the Domination Tree? No. Do they want to take it as a secondary rune? Maybe. Yeah, I talked about the items already, Baker. Yeah. All right, so let's give this a try. So, does Ezreal's auto attack? Does Ezreal's Q count as auto attack or an ability? The Q into auto attack. Oh! So it counts as an ability. Interesting. Also, Ezreal Q counts as towards PTA, which is also kind of crazy. But you see that little flame that happened just then? So if I do auto attack into Q, That little burst of flame is the extra damage. But also, I'm pretty sure it's adaptive damage, right? So it's... I'm pretty sure the rune is adaptive damage, right? Yeah, it's adaptive damage. So I can just use W into auto attack, and that deals a little bit of extra damage. Or I can E into auto attack and deal the extra damage. What's the cooldown, actually? I never read the cooldown. 7 seconds, okay. Or I can E into auto attack, and then that will do all the extra damage. Okay, interesting. So Ezreal's Q counts as a thing. Yeah, by the way, Ezreal can stack PTA with his Q, which is kind of nice. Ezreal can stack PTA with this Q. Yeah, interesting. So it's not that visible to actually see how much damage you're doing, but the damage is there. Like, you can see the damage. It's there. Is it AoE? Okay, let me test it. Hold on, let me test it. I do not think it's AoE. So auto attack Q. Oh, it is AoE. Oh, wait, it's AoE? Oh, that's interesting. Oh yeah, it creates an explosion. Yeah, I mean, I guess the explosion's AoE. I mean, it doesn't do that much damage. I mean, it only deals like 18 damage, which is not that great. I mean, I don't have any items, but I mean, I could just quickly go like full build maybe. I can quickly just go full build, see what it's like with this. 34? I don't know. Hey, wait, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's AoE. It's a small area, yeah. It's a small area. No Maokai yet, no Maokai. Yeah. Interesting rune. Interesting rune. I think it could be good on Yone Yasuo. The problem is the domination tree rune is just shit. Like, it's so bad. Saying that, there is a change to a rune which I think might be used on AD carries more often. When is the streamer gonna stop yapping? I'm testing shit. I'm doing my own stuff.
Sona,
Fuck you, Wit. Anyway. Next rune I want to talk about is empowered attack. So empowered attack has now changed. Empowered attack now doesn't work on monsters in the jungle. Empowered attack basically got the brutal treatment. It got the brutal treatment. Empowered attack doesn't work on jungle camps anymore. It now only works on champions, but it now deals a bit of extra damage, basically. So now this only works on champions. It's every 8 seconds, but basically it got the brutal treatment. So a good way to do this is to actually probably compare this to brutal. So brutal deals 12 to 19 bonus adaptive damage on hit against enemy champions, whereas empowered attack deals 35 to 50, but it's every 8 seconds. So basically going for the domination tree in jungle now is probably just completely dead, because this doesn't, this also only works on champions. Brutal deals more. I mean, if you auto attack more, then yes, it will. I mean, and brutal is still better than empowered attack, because if you, all you need to do is auto attack what, 12, 24, 36. All you need to do is auto attack 3 times in the space of 8 seconds, and you're dealing more damage than empowered attack. Or 8 seconds, yeah. You auto attack 3 times in the space of 8 seconds is exactly the same. Mega, thank you very much for the sub as well. Thank you for the tier 1. Appreciate the 20 months. Thank you, thank you. Empowered attack does give you a bit of burst damage. Like, imagine an ADC build, right? Where you go brutal, giant slayer, legend bloodline, then you go something like empowered attack, and also you have like PTA, for example, or even like Conqueror or something, or even lethal tempo. Like, imagine how much damage, extra damage you're dealing with your auto attacks. I mean, it will have to be tested to see what this is like, but I think a big thing as well, I want to actually test this, but I think empowered attack doesn't work on minions anymore, because the reason why empowered attack was so shit was that it's it basically didn't work on it worked on minions as well, but I want to test it real quick, because the problem before is that it worked on minions and monsters in the jungle. Now if it only works on champions, it might actually be really good.
Wait, where are we going?
I think it actually might be really good. Domination's only alive because of sudden impact. Yeah, it's basically only alive because of assassins. Even assassins nowadays, like Kha'Zix, like, he's just taking Gathering Storm, Giant Slayer, because of how tanks are in the meta and how strong they are in the meta. Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'll probably play Kindred like tomorrow or something, tomorrow's stream. I'm kind of dedicating this stream to the PBE server. So if anyone has any questions or anything, they can just direct it to me in PBE. And also I'll obviously be doing like Callista guides and things like that as well, because I have everything in English, but again, I'll be later on down the line. Pantheon's also another champion, by the way, which also works pretty well with that domination rune thing. Right, so I don't want to disable minions. I just want to see if empowered attack works on... I want to see if empowered attack works on minions. So we still have the red thing around us, which we can see here. So if we auto attack this, we wait for the empowered attack to come back up again. Where's our empowered attack? Come on, hurry up. Okay, that's an empowered attack. Does it work on minions? It doesn't. See, I think this is a big buff. Because the one big downside to empowered attack right now is that empowered attack works on minions in the lane and also works on jungle. Now, it only works on champions. So it's actually really good to just deal a little bit of extra damage when you're auto-attacking champions. Like Caitlyn, for example. Caitlyn's a champion that can just auto-attack from range and do extremely well. This is really, really good. Like, it doesn't work on minions. You don't get cucked by the game by auto-attacking using empowered attack on minions. Pretty good. I kind of like it. I like this rune. I mean, is it worth taking as a secondary rune? Probably not, but it's good that it now doesn't work on minions. Obviously, it's a big nerf to... Not big enough, but it's a nerf to junglers because you can't use this on jungle camps anymore. But yeah, there you go. That's empowered attack. That is empowered attack. I mean, yeah, this could also be really good for Jhin, right? Because Jhin is a champion that doesn't auto attack a lot during a fight, but wants to have that quick burst damage. So you can go for something like empowered attack, and then every 8 seconds you get that extra little bit of damage. Which, as I said, it's not as much as Brutal. Like, if you're playing someone like, I don't know, Kai'Sa, Brutal is still going to be probably better as an alternative if you want to go Brutal. Because you're going to auto-attack more than 3 times in the space of a few seconds. But one thing is that, does Brutal scale better? I didn't actually check the Brutal scaling. What is it? 19 on Brutal. And then Empowered Attack goes up to 50. So it's the same, 3 auto attacks. It's basically the same, 3 auto attacks in the space of a few seconds. Yeah, that's that. And then the final rune we have to look at, Precision Tree has stayed the same. You can see here, Precision Tree, there's no new icons, that stayed the same. And Domination Tree, we've had a look of. Resolve Tree has a new rune, and then Inspiration hasn't changed. They've still somehow kept Loyalty. I have no idea why they keep Loyalty, but hey, I'm not the developer. I don't know why they still have Loyalty in the game when no one has it. Onslaught, I think, is really, really good. I think Onslaught is really, really good. You gain 5% tenacity flat, and you gain up to 20% bonus tenacity based on the number of surviving enemies nearby to you. So this is going to be an extra 4% tenacity for every nearby enemy champion. So you gain 5% tenacity, like flat. That's just a flat tenacity. If you're playing in the dual lane, for example, you're getting an extra 10% tenacity on top of that 5%. Well, I don't know how much this nearby enemies is going to do, or like how close you need to be for this nearby enemy. Actually, that's something we can test. We will test that to see how close you need to be to an enemy champion for that to actually work. Personally, I think this is kind of... I mean, in team fights, I think this is probably better than Perseverance, in my opinion. It depends how close you need to be to the enemy champion. I think that's what it is. I think it depends how close you need to be to an enemy champion to get the extra tenacity. But I would rather have more tenacity than extra armor and mag resists, in my opinion. I'd rather have more tenacity, because if I get hit by multiple CC, I'm still only having 10 flat tenacity, and that's it. If I get hit by multiple CC, at least it's going to be reduced from Onslaught. So obviously this rune's really good if you're against like a lot of CC champions, obviously. Yeah. Classic ADC player. What do you mean? Like, I'm not being hit by fucking CC all the time. I mean, 60 to 30 armor is like, okay. Like, I'm not saying it's... I mean, you'll never take this over Overgrowth, right? Like, in the jungle especially, and probably supports, you never take this over Overgrowth. I'm just thinking of more like ADC terms or just carry terms. I mean, obviously you take overgrowth every single time if you're a tank, but I'm talking like more of like ADC and more like, what's it rune replacing? It's not replacing anything. The runes that I just spoke about are just additional runes. You can see here, they're just additional runes. This additional rune, this is an additional rune. So they're just adding more runes basically. It'll be good to actually test this. Let's give this a test. Let's give this a try. Let's see how close we need to be to enemy champions to get the extra tenacity. Ezreal. Let's have a look and see. Nothing else here gives me tenacity, right? Nope, it doesn't. Oh, Aftershock does, but I'm never proccing it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just a secondary rune wit, right? So it's like, it's a replacement for something like bone plating, which obviously you probably take bone plating instead, and other things as well. I mean, yeah, you never take it as a main rune as a tank in the resolve tree. I completely agree with you, but I'm just thinking like, if you're against a lot of crowd control, it might be a lot better to take that over like bone plating, for example, in my opinion. Because, you know, some ADCs are not taking bone plating a lot, still. I mean, it's the best like basic rune to run. I mean, on my website, I still recommend the rune. My voice is really going. This is bad. Okay, let's give this a try. Let's give the bot some levels. Let's give me some levels. Let's get rid of Fog of War and also get rid of minions because I do not want minions. So we should just be having 10 tenacity, right? Oh no, 5 tenacity, sorry. Let's disable the bot now. Let's see how close we need to stand to this enemy champion. I'm just going to keep this up, and when this goes up in terms of tenacity, that's when I stop. Wait, there's no way I have to stand that close, right? What? You basically have to be in melee range. That's how close you need to stand to a champion to get the extra tenacity. Also, it's 5 extra tenacity, I guess. I don't know why it's 5 and not 4. This is how close you have to be to an enemy champion to get more tenacity. You're basically touching them. I mean, it's okay. It's terrible. Okay, you're never taking this on ADC. I mean, as an ADC, if you're standing this close already to an enemy champion, you're probably dead anyway. You're completely running it down in your inting. You should never be standing this close to an enemy champion. Yeah, true, Neela. Yeah, Neela's probably the only one that might benefit from it a bit with the CC because she's actually dashing in and she's dealing a lot of damage. I mean, Samira, probably not because you don't want to get CC'd anyway. Samira, you just go for QSS because you never want to be CC'd anyway, especially in your ultimate. Yeah, like that's crazy how close you actually need to stand. Because if I stand like a bit further away, like look, 5%, up to 10%. I have to stand this fucking close to a champion to get more tenacity. So yeah, scrap what I said about it being pretty good on ADC, and it might be good on ADC. Now that you have to stand this close, it's not great. It's not great at all. I take everything back that I just said. And that's exactly why we're doing these videos. And that's exactly why we're doing this stream. It's because we're testing these champions and we're testing these runes with these champions to see if it's actually good or if it's actually bad. Yeah, that's everything with the runes. So 2 new keystone runes. Overall opinions of the runes, I think PTA might be okay on some champions. Again, PTA is a lot more reliant on single target damage and also timing of the damage. Like you need to make sure that you deal damage within that vulnerability. It's very different to Kraken Slayer where you can't proc it multiple times. It does have a cooldown. Arcane Comet going to be really powerful during early game, really powerful for poke champions during the early game. Champions like Syndra. Syndra is another champion with Arcane Comet that also works pretty well. I wonder how easy it is to dodge if you land it with like a Q, for example. But Syndra, Arcane Comet, Lux as well. And also it scales in the late game as well now, which is kind of cool. So the more champions you hit with Arcane Comet, the more it scales into late game, which is kind of cool. Domination Tree. This rune, I don't know how good this rune's going to be. I think it might be very interesting on champions that are reliant on abilities and also auto attacks at the same time. Might be quite interesting. Empowered attack doesn't work on minions and monsters anymore, but now only works on champions, but deals more damage, which is quite nice. And then we have the Resolve Tree rune, which you basically need to stand in melee range to get the bonus tenacity. Yeah. That is basically it. That's all the runes. A bit more of a shorter video than the items, but hopefully you enjoyed. Take care. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.